sons of God, which is a reference for fallen angels, mated with the daughters of men. So the fallen angels had sexual relationships with human women, co-mixing the DNA of fallen angels with human women, interspecies breeding of the DNA of the fallen angel and the human woman, producing what they called the mighty men of old. And they were, physically in stature, they were giants. But see, this was a huge offense to God, because when you study the book of Leviticus and you read the book of Genesis, God always is talking about reproduction after its own kind. In other words, God specifically forbids in the book of Leviticus the interspecies breeding or mating of animals and human beings. He calls that bestiality, and it's a sin. But that sin goes beyond human and animal mating. That sin would also include human and angelic mating. And when you read the book of Revelation and you see what's going on now, serious questions are being raised. I talk about this, and you can visit my website, paulmcguire.org. I have a new DVD coming out called Moon into Blood, where I deal with this extensively, and I think it'll blow your mind and give you a biblical foundation for understanding this. So many people believe that the DNA of Nephilim has been preserved after the flood, because the idea is that the primary reason for the flood of Noah was more than just mankind was exceedingly wicked and violent, and God flooded the earth and destroyed the human race except for Noah and his family and the ark. And the ark, of course, is a symbol of the rapture of the church. But the purpose of the flood is really, the whole story of the flood of Noah can be understood at its essence when you think of it in terms of DNA. Because what the flood did is it wiped out the DNA of every animal and human species on planet Earth, with the exception of Noah and his family, who was found perfect in his generation. Well, what does that mean? It most probably means that the family of Noah's DNA was not corrupted with the DNA of the Nephilim. They were pure human beings. And this corruption of the natural order, because of bestiality, etc., had also corrupted the animal kingdom. And so specific animals were taken onto the ark, two of every kind, male and female. And the ark, which if you look at the actual physical measurements of the ark, and you see how it's constructed architecturally, you see that the ark was a very sophisticated boat system, a massive boat with a massive system of warehouse chambers that could house countless numbers of species of giraffes and birds and other kinds of animals, thus wiping out all the corrupt DNA. And then when the floods subside, God restarts the creative order once again with Noah and his family, and with a cleansed DNA of the animal kingdom, and he starts over again. But what some people think happened is that some of the Nephilim, the seed of the Nephilim, the DNA, they hid in caves and up in Antarctica and places like that. Their bodies were frozen. And some people believe that modern scientists, and I say modern scientists, I'm going back to the Nazi era, or Roswell, New Mexico, they were able to recapture the DNA of the Nephilim, and that they have taken the DNA of the Nephilim, and they are doing genetic experiments with interspecies breeding of animal Nephilim, which means fallen angel, and human DNA to create a super race. Now, this is demonic in nature because what this does is this allows for the intrusion of fallen angels and demonic DNA to be in the human race. And the question is, for how many centuries has demonic DNA been in the human race? And is there a correlation between these occult secret societies, and I deal with this in my DVD series, Are You Ready for the Global Government? Are you ready for the coming one world economic system? Are you ready for the coming one world religion? I deal with that in the Are You Ready DVD series, and I deal with it in my new DVD, Moon into Blood. For how many centuries has the Illuminati, for example, a powerful secret society and occult group? There are serious questions that there are something like 13 original bloodline Illuminati families. Well, if that's true, then that means that these families quite possibly contain the DNA of demons, which would theoretically, and I'm just speaking speculatively for the moment, theoretically give these families superhuman characteristics that would make them different than ordinary men and women. And so that would mean that among the human race today, we have regular human beings, and then we have secretly in our midst, and this is like a science fiction movie thought, we have secretly in our midst families and genetic strains of family lines where the Nephilim, or the DNA of fallen angels, mated with human women. So we have human beings alive today, and some of them in great, again, speculation, some of them potentially in great positions of power who are not fully human being, they're partially demonic. Now, this gets into some really heavy stuff, but it needs to be looked at. I mean, you can just dismiss it as science fiction talk and it's way out there, but you really can't do that, because when you examine the scripture, Genesis 6, when you read Jude, where he talks about the angels who lost their first estate and were thrown back into prison, and you read the stories of David fighting Goliath, Goliath was a Nephilim. I'm Paul McGuire. Go to my website, paulmcguire.org, and I have more information for you.